Welcome back to the Peak Performance Podcast. I'm Shane Kelly, and today I'm joined by Coach Terry Swopes, the head tennis coach at Ada High School in Oklahoma. He won 9 state championships as an assistant coach, has won state titles for both boys and girls tennis, 3-time state coach of the year, and recently inducted in the Oklahoma Tennis Coaches Hall of Fame. So thank you so much for joining me today, and congratulations on the Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing really well. Just excited to hear what you have to say about coaching, your experiences, and learn a little bit today.
Okay.
The most important question, in my opinion, first thing that I always like to jump into is what made you want to get into the coaching? Because a lot of people like to jump in, but clearly there's something that has kept you around. And then why high school out of all the levels?
Um, when it's funny when I was graduating high school, my dad told me that I should teach math and coach tennis because those were my two passions. Played tennis my whole life with him growing up. Um, but I was an 18-year-old that knew everything, so I said, "There's no way I'm doing that." And so I really liked accounting in high school because back then it was still you did everything by hand, and I loved working with numbers. So I thought, I'll do that. And then about my junior year in college, it kind of transitioned to everything was on the computer, and I said, I don't want to do that. So of course I changed my major to teaching math and coaching tennis, and that's what I've been doing ever since, with the exception of switching to school counselor about 10 years ago. Um, but as far as high school, really, I feel like I relate. I mean, I like kids of all ages and working with kids. I teach summer camps with little kids, and they're a blast to be around. But I feel like I really relate better to high school students, especially helping them figure out what they want to do in life and working to be their best. Or maybe that's my maturity level. I don't know. That's what my wife would probably tell you.
And how would you describe your coaching style?
Probably calm, patient. When I first graduated, I went to work in the McAllister School District, which is about an hour from Ada, and um, my goal was I was just gonna be an assistant coach and learn for a few years. There was a Hall of Fame coach there, and my first semester there, his wife got sick, and so he had to leave. So I took over. I got thrown into the fire right from the start, and I had just got done playing college tennis, and so we worked out all the time, and he was always in our face yelling, and so I was like, well, I guess that's what I'm going to do. So I told our kids, we're never going to lose a 3-set match because we're out of shape. So we ran and we worked out, and it worked. We never lost a 3-set match because we were never in a 3-set match because we didn't hit enough tennis balls. We lost the straight sets. So I figured out pretty quick the most important thing in tennis is time spent on the court. And I also learned about myself those first couple of years as I am not a yeller in your face. If I ever yell at practice, it's because I have to. But my goal is to be calm, patient, work with the kids. And when I came to Ada, I worked with Skip Grisey, and he was a lot like that. So that really helped me. And actually, when I first started coaching, I read Tony Dungy's book, Quiet Strength, and realized this guy's successful at the highest level there is, and he's not an in-your-face yeller. So maybe that is possible. So that's a lot of words to say. My goal is to be calm, be patient. I don't want to show panic because I don't want the kids to panic on the court. It doesn't matter what the score is. We have a chance to come back. So that's probably how I would sum it up.
Well, I think it's just important that you're yourself. The calm style may work for you because that relates to your personality, but if somebody naturally carries a more fiery,
Mm-hmm.
loud, energetic personality, if they tried the calm style, I think it would fail miserably.
Right.
I mean, you can see through when somebody's trying to be somebody that they're not.
Exactly.
Um,
I agree with that.
and I like the element that you don't want to, set panic in for your athletes. You want, because if they look over and see you panicking while they're on the court, they're going
Right.
to panic. But if they look over and you're doing all right, they're like, all right, it'll be fine. We'll work
Yep.
it out. And how would you describe the culture around your team? Because tennis is a very individual
Yep.
sport. So how are you able to bring a bunch of individual athletes together to have a strong team culture where it's all about the school and the program rather than the individual?
Yeah. Our culture is team first, which, like you just said, is not easy to do in tennis because they're, if they play doubles, they have a partner, but for the most part, our divisions, they're individual divisions. To win team titles, they still have to play individually, and then we get points for how they finish, and you add all those up, and whatever team has the most points. So it's all done individually. But I just feel like when they feel like they are part of a team and that they're playing for more than just themselves, they will subconsciously, naturally put more into it. So my goal is to build the team culture as much as possible. So we do a lot of things together that have nothing to do with tennis. We'll have swim parties in the summer. We'll go. We just I talked to you a couple of weeks ago. We took them to watch a OU men's tennis match and went and ate ice cream afterwards and hung out. We've done we've done paintball together. We've done pickleball tournaments together. And we just ours in Oklahoma it's different because we don't have fall. Well, we used to not have fall tennis. This past year they just approved where we could play a few tournaments in the fall. But traditionally we play from March to May. And so I have a lot of players that don't do other sports. I have a few that do, but majority do not do other sports. So you're with them basically 11 months out of the year. We usually give them, the last half of July to the middle of August off. And so we spend a lot of time together. So they better learn how to like each other and be able to be around each other and figure out how to be a team. But it's always going to be team first. We talk all the time. Like I hope every single one of them wins an individual state championship. Like I want that for them. I want them to have the success. But our goal is the team title first. And you can in Oklahoma, you can win a team title without winning individual titles. So we push that all year long. It's all about team.
All about team, and sounds like you're having a lot of fun while doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of creating those extracurriculars, paintball, pool party, just little things that your tennis players are going to remember for the rest of their lives. They're not
Yes.
going to remember a random match that they had their sophomore year, but they might remember the pool party.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff they look back on. They're like, yeah, I had a great experience. But also, those things contribute to the effort that they put into the program as a whole. Because they can't just give and not receive anything.
Right.
It's a give and take. So I like that you're doing that. That's really cool.
Yeah. I love the culture here. We have former players that come back all the time and hit with our current players and they'll help them do lessons. I've had two or three coach with me. I have two former players that are getting married in August that came by today and asked me to do their wedding.
That's awesome.
Which that'll be a different experience, but it's like once they graduate, they're still part of our culture, and I love that about our program.
And that honestly has so many further benefits because it almost creates like this community element where it's not, I'm here to play tennis. It's, I'm a part of this group, this community, and you're either a player in it or you come back and help kind of as an assistant coach, whether there's a title there or not. But I like that.
Yeah.
Do you have any explicit team values that you share with them? I know you talked about like team first, but are you all about hard work, respect, discipline, any of these? And do these revolve from year to year? or are they pretty firm that you're like, these are our values, this is what we like to do here?
They're pretty firm. I might change some things, add some things year to year, depending on the identity of that team, what they need that year. But the basics. So I have a poster hanging in our tennis building, and at the start of every year, I give them all a little card, tell them to put it on their bathroom mirror and look at it every day. And at the top, it says "We will," and then it has a series of things down. And like the first one says, "Put the classroom first." Like, I mean, they're student athletes, the students first. So academics is first. It says we'll be a positive spark in victory and defeat. We are going to try our hardest to win. We're not going to act like morons if we lose. We're going to run until the ball bounces twice, which is a big one in tennis. Just that max effort. We're going to put others first. Like, we're going to treat people with kindness. Maybe not during the match. Like, we're going to be good sports, but we're still going to try to kick your tail in. But we're not going to be jerks. We're going to never, ever give up. So that one comes from, we have what's called the Jimmy V Award. So if you win a 6-0 set, you get a point. If you win a 3-set match, you get a point. If you win a tiebreaker, you get a point. All things in tennis it takes a lot of work to do and never giving up. And of course, it's named after Jim Valvano and his speech about never giving up, which is probably one of my favorite speeches ever. But it all boils down to, we will never quit on the court, ever. Like, regardless what the score is, it doesn't matter if we're winning big or losing big. You cannot quit. You got to play 1 point at a time. But those team values, that's every day. The number, and it all boils down to, we're going to treat people with kindness, but we are going to try to outwork everybody. And in Ada, we're a small town. We have a country club, but we don't have a country club with a tennis program. So we're going against private schools. We're going against schools from a city that have all these country clubs up there where they can go hit year round indoors, and they can go do drills and clinics and work with tennis professionals. And Ada, we have to outwork everybody. And don't get me wrong, this is an incredible tennis community. We have former coaches and players doing lessons and working with people. But for the most part, we have to outgrind and outwork everybody if we want to be successful.
How do you think that little card benefits the athletes?
Well, my hope is they read it like they're supposed to every day. I always tell them I'm going to quiz them over it. I never do, but every single thing on there, I mean, it'll lead you to being successful in tennis, but way more important than that, like, it'll lead you to being successful in life. You treat people, put others first. Means treat people with kindness. That's first. My word, just this world would be so much better. People are just nice.
Agreed.
And hard work. Hard work is the answer to everything. It doesn't matter if it's in a sport or your job, or it doesn't matter what it is. If there's a job you want, work harder than the other person to get it. You want a better grade in your class, study harder. So, my hope is, obviously, I hope it helps them in tennis, but, way more important than that is it'll help them be successful in life if they'll just follow those simple guidelines.
Well, that's why we love sports, right?
Yep.
All the skills you learn in sports, if used properly, can transfer to any area of life to help you. That's why I know a lot of companies, they look for student athletes to
Yep.
hire, because these are skills that, if you've been playing sports your whole life, in theory, you should have as an individual. It may
Right.
not always be the case, but you like to think so.
Right.
How do you change your coaching style, if any, when coaching boys and girls? Are there any differences, or do you just kind of run it the same?
It's usually the same. When we do our practices, we hit together. And from a tennis standpoint, I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I want the girls to see a little more power. So when they run into those players, the female players that do hit harder, they have that experience. And some of my girls hit harder than the boys. So, but I also want, on the same guidelines, So the boys, they have to get used to playing people that just keep the ball and play, and it's not always power. So from the tennis standpoint, we do that. Usually, emotionally, it varies from year to year. Some years I'll have a boys team that's a lot more dramatic than the girls team, and they have their own conflicts and a lot of oh team building, working on skills to communication skills, and sometimes it's the girls team. Like a couple years ago, the girls. I have three of them left, but the three of them graduated. They had won back-to-back state championships. Man, when they were freshmen, they used to argue so much with each other. So it was a lot of sitting down saying, all right, you talk and say your point. Now you listen and be quiet. Now you talk and say your point. All right, we got that worked out. Let's go hit some tennis balls. And then as they grew up, they learned the pettiness was just silly, and they worked hard. Like I try to get them, boys and girls, I try to get the tennis courts to be their sanctuary. I tell them every year, like, it doesn't matter how bad of a day you had, for about the next hour and a half, 2 hours, when you step on the court, you get to forget about everything else and just take everything out on a tennis ball. So it just varies year to year, but for the most part, overall, I coach them the same. I don't have to adjust. Just depends if I have one team that's a little more dramatic than the other team that year.
Well, I like that you brought up the sanctuary element because you never know what these kids are going through outside of school, at home, even in school. So to have like a safe space that's like, I can have fun here, hang out
Right.
with my peers, get a good exercise. Like that's what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of coaches get so caught up in winning that they forget why they started coaching in the first place.
Right. I had a.
And
Oh,
oh,
sorry. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh,
Not
I
for you.
had a funny story on that. Like, I was coaching a freshman. He wasn't part of our varsity, but he was playing as an extra in a tournament for him, and he was having a good tournament. And he was playing a kid, and he was had such negative body language. He wasn't, and his kid he had already beaten, and he was being really negative. And I tell them all the time in tennis, they don't understand how the negativity affects them on the court. I mean, it's like that in any sport, but in an individual sport, it really affects how they play. And I didn't know the kid that well yet. He had moved in, just got in our program. So I went up to him and asked him, I was like, okay, before I make my next statement, is there anything going on at home? He said, no. I said, your parents aren't getting divorced. Everyone's healthy. He said, yeah. I said, okay, good. Now that's out of the way. Wake up, get your head in the match, stop pouting, and go play. But yeah, so along those lines.
Would you say that you prioritize winning as your number one thing? Or if not, what is your number one priority?
I don't know who all is going to listen to this. I don't know if anybody from the school will listen to it, but no, winning is not my priority. It's great. I love it. I am a competitive person. Like, I want to win at everything I do. If I'm a counselor at the school, I want to be the best counselor there is. It doesn't matter. I want to be the best one. My kids all beat me in Fortnite now, and it drives me absolutely insane. Um, but no, winning is not my priority. Like, helping them be the best versions of themselves they can be. That is my goal. Now, part of that is I have a really high work ethic, so I try to get them to have a really high work ethic, and that usually translates when they're willing to do that, and when they're willing to spend time on the court on their own. That usually does translate to winning, but that is not my goal for teaching them that. It's great. It's an awesome benefit. We have a great program, and I love it, and love taking the podium pictures when we were lucky enough to win it. But there's been years where we might not have had the best team, and might not have won a lot of tournaments. But those years were an absolute blast because they were an amazing group of kids that worked hard and just fun to hang out with. So no, my first priority is teaching them the right way to do life.
It's so easy to get caught up in viewing the success of the season by your record. but I don't think it's an accurate representation, especially at the high school level.
Right.
If you're, college coach, professional coach, obviously winning is number one
Right.
because there's money on the line. That these are people's careers, their lives. You want to prioritize winning there? Sure, go ahead.
Yep.
But at the high school level, I think winning essentially is a byproduct of doing everything right.
Yep.
It's not, it shouldn't be the goal, it should be the result.
Yep.
And
With that.
if you have your all the priorities in line and you're giving your athletes, a fun space, you're teaching them values, hard work, and they feel safe, they're having fun, they're putting in the work, the wins will come.
Right.
Maybe not every year, but they will eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is there any advice you would give to an inexperienced coach, maybe in the first couple seasons, to help them improve their own ability as a coach and help them build team culture around their sport?
Yeah. I mean, the advice I always tell people in the first couple of years is the grind is worth it. Like if you were doing it for the right reasons, the grind is worth it. You know, helping these kids figure life out is so rewarding. And like you said, if you teach them to work hard, teach them the sport, the winning will come. Like that part will work itself out. Um, for me, what works for me personally, and I don't know if this works for all coaches. I mean, I know there's some really, really good coaches that they have their style, their program, and kids are going to fit into their style. Me personally, I figure out in the off season. My goal is to figure out what the best way each kid needs to be coached is. So, like, there's some kids where it has to be all encouraging. All encouraging. That's when they play their best. There's some kids, they want the negative feedback. They want to know whatever. You're not moving your feet. You're dropping your head on your backhand. There's some kids that don't want to talk technical. They just need the mental part of, hey, you got this. Keep working. Keep working. Like trying to get them to play the long game where your opponent might be whipping your tail in the first half of this match, but our goal is to wear them out. We're playing the long game in this match. So I kind of mold how I coach each kid different. I know not all coaches, some coaches have their method and kids are going to fit to the method, and that's fine. For me personally, especially because tennis is so individual,
Yeah.
uh, I like to figure out what each kid needs, and that's the goal. And it might vary in a match. Like there's some matches where I'll start off positive, positive, positive. Well, this is not working, so then I'll go negative. This is not working. Then I'll go loud. This is not working. So figure out something that wakes them up. But for young coaches, it's so easy, especially in today's world where everybody has access to complain, and parents are a lot different than they used to be, where a lot of stuff's going to automatically be assumed to be your fault. It is really easy to get discouraged. But it's still worth it. That's what I tell them. The grind is worth it. Hang in there. They're fighting the good fight. And so that's what my encouragement to them would be.
Did you go through any period of trial and error when you were learning how to coach yourself, where maybe the first couple years you kept trying new things and maybe some stuck, maybe some went awfully, and kind of over time curated how you're gonna run a program? Or was the process not really so trial and error based?
It was trial and error at the start. Like I told that story earlier that when I first started coaching, I thought, oh, we're going to be in the best shape of any team there is. Um, and then I realized that's great. We were in shape, but we weren't great at tennis because we didn't hit enough tennis balls. So I learned pretty quick in tennis that there's absolutely no substitute for time on the court. So from then on, everything I incorporated with when we do our agility and our conditioning, we do it on the court as part of drills. So like for example, when we do it now, the days we're doing agility, and I always tell our players, like in Oklahoma, we play what's called super tiebreakers for the third set. So they're not even playing full third sets. I always tell them, tennis court is 78 feet long, 39 feet from the net to the baseline on one half. So our biggest sprint is 39 feet. I'm not interested in if you can run 3 miles. What I am interested in is if you can run that 39 feet a lot quicker. If you can stop on a dime, change directions, that's what I'm interested in. So when we do our agility now, we work on forehands on one court, volleys on another court, serves on another court. Without fourth court's agility. So they'll spend 20 minutes doing cones or ladders. I have a guy that comes and he runs that court for me. He was a former OU football player. He does a really great job with them.
Wow.
And so they do all agility and core work. And then they get up and then they have to go and hit serves when their legs are dead tired. So what I've learned from trial and error, it all boils down to time on the court's the number one thing. They got to spend time hitting the tennis ball. It's such a technical sport. So that is the biggest thing I learned to adjust. From a coaching standpoint, once I figured out that I like you said earlier, I tried to be a yeller, but it was so see-through. It was so fake that I could feel it. And so, once I started being myself and what I was comfortable with, that I've kept that the whole time.
How long would you say it took to kind of work out the kinks of learning how to coach? Because you can know the sport, but not know how to coach. That takes time. It's a whole other skill.
Right. I always see the kids that I coached in McAllister, I was there for 4 years. And I see them, we still have a great relationship. When I won the National Coach of the Year, they came to this, a lot of them surprised me and came to the ceremony. And so I said, I'm sorry. I said, y'all were guinea pigs. Like those 4 years, I was not a good coach. But you have to have it. Like, there's no class in college. There is nothing except experience to teach you how to be a good coach. Now, you also have the personality that you're willing to make changes if you want to be a good coach. If you figure out something's not working, I probably shouldn't do that. But my last 2 years at McAllister, they went well. They were a lot better. But I don't know if there's a timeline. If I had to narrow it down, I'd say the first 2 years was probably me figuring out what in the world I was doing, because I didn't get to jump in and be an assistant and learn from somebody. I just had to start. And so I always apologize to them. So sorry, y'all were guinea pigs, but we still have a great relationship and it went well. And then when I moved to Ada, my father-in-law, he was actually the tennis coach at Ada. Before me was Skip Grisay. He retired. I took over as head coach, but I worked with Skip for 14 years. And before Skip was my father-in-law. So I have 2 Hall of Fame state championship coaches that I'm really close with that I got to learn from for 14 years. And so that helped me a ton. I know not everyone has that experience, but that helped me a ton.
It takes time, just like anything. It takes time. And yeah, you got the benefit of learning under 2 great coaches, but you still got to put in the work yourself. It doesn't
Right.
take away anything. Those are all the questions I had prepared for today.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any parting thoughts, maybe stories that depict what the culture is around your team, anything to do with your program or just coaching as a whole?
Yeah. I could spend the next day talking about stories because, we always talk about in tennis, the playing, all that's great. The bus rides are more fun than anything, because I know some high school kids drive a lot of people crazy, but they're hilarious, But, so I got my greatest joy I've had in coaching was I got to coach 2 of my sons. So we have 2 biological sons. They're older. One's, like I said, is in med school, and the other is a sophomore in college. And then we adopted 2. But the two oldest ones, I got to coach both of them. So Landon, my oldest, we won the state championship his freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And I don't want to sound cocky and arrogant, but we were going to win it his senior year. Like him and his two best friends, they were going to be the first ones in NADA history to go four for four on state championships. Well, that was the year of COVID.
Oh, that's brutal.
So 2020 season got canceled. So he didn't get to win that one. I got to coach my son Jackson, and Jackson came up with five other players. They were all freshmen, and they grew up since second grade playing tennis, always arguing, always at the courts, and they're probably my favorite testament to what hard work does. Because I used to tell them when they were little, they come out and play tennis and be like, guys, y'all are gonna, iron sharpens iron. Like y'all are gonna push each other, and they all stayed together, and they lived at the courts. So their senior year, which was 2024, they won. I told them they're the reason I won National Coach of the Year. I'm still riding their coattails for it. But that 2024 year, we won every division at the state tournament. We won one singles, two singles, one doubles, two doubles. They didn't lose a set. And on top of that, they won the academic state championship. They had the highest GPA. And so it was like the greatest season you could possibly have. And that was literally because they just lived at the courts since they were little. And they were all really good tennis players. But none of them came from a country club. They all just worked. And I use that story all the time, just a testament to their hard work. And the last story talking about culture is last year, my girls team won the state championship. And so how it works in Oklahoma is we play one singles, two singles, one doubles, two doubles. You get points for how you finish. You add all those up. Whoever has the most points is the team champion. My one singles girl had an amazing year. I think she was 26-5 on the season. And she is literally, she will hit the ball 100 times to win a point. She's not going to outpower you, but she's willing to hit it 100 times. Are you? Like that's her whole strategy. Like I'm going to spend 30 minutes to win a point. Will you do that? And most people won't. She had a great year. Well, regionals, she had a match and she got nervous and ended up losing that match. Well, at state, she's the number 4 seed going in. And there were two girls that weren't seeded that thought, I don't want to run into either one of those girls, just how nervous she is. Well, we drew one of them first round. And we were really nervous. We lost that match. So we had to feed back in and play an elimination match, which if she wins, she'll score points for us in that division. But if she loses, she's eliminated. We'll get no points for her division. And she played the other girl that I didn't want to see. And we played nervous and we lost that match. So we were not going to score points at one singles. We were only going to score with 3 divisions, which to win a state title with 3 divisions is really, really hard to do. And I mean, I was disappointed. I was sad for her. She felt like she let everybody down. And later, I have a picture on my phone that someone sent me, and I did not tell the girls to do this, but all the other girls had gone and surrounded her, hugged her, actually said a prayer with her, and told her, "We got this. We got you. We're gonna do it. We got it." And they all won out. We won the state championship at both doubles. My 2 singles got third, and they scored enough points with their 3 divisions to win the state title. But in that moment, it's looking like we didn't have a chance. But I just loved it because it spoke to the team culture. Like they did that on themselves. It would have been really easy for those 5 to be mad at her, the other 5 girls, and be like, "You let us down." But they just surrounded her and comforted her. It was a really neat thing.
That's a beautiful moment. That's what teams do. Or
Yeah,
at least should do. They pick each other up when they're down, they support each other, and you just happen to get the Disney movie
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
finish to it.
And I'm not perfect by any means. I've also had the years where the other 5 would have been like, "That's it, we're done with you."
It's a revolving door at the high school level.
Yep.
You only keep them for 4 years at most.
Mm-hmm.
So each and every year it's a very different group, and
Yes.
the only core element that stays is the coach.
Hmm.
So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
appreciate it. I learned a lot. I enjoyed it.
So I appreciate it. It was fun. I've never got to do one of these. So,
All right, well, have a great rest of the day. Thank you again.
all right, you too. Thank you.